Let's see what we can do about it. 3. Come on, Mike. There you go. 3, 2. On today's show, Klay Thompson says he knows what a title team looks like. Is it the Dallas Mavericks? I'll tell you why I'm skeptical on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm going to get a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all 5.
You are Locked On Mavs. Great, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave you.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with it. Dogged up.
Dogged up. And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks, the title titan, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I got a quick kid story real quick.
Uh-oh. Jason or...
Oh, sorry. No.
Your kid. Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of my kids. So my daughter, she's 5. She went on a walk with my son and my wife this evening. And my wife said they were walking and they heard a bird.
Okay.
Hitting the tree. There's a certain type of bird that hits the tree with their beak. And in which she was like, "Do y'all hear that?" In which my daughter says, "Yeah, I hear a pecker." And she was like, "What?" She's like, and so my daughter says it again, and she's like, "That's a woodpecker. Make sure we say that." And she's like, "That's the nickname for it." It's like,
the nickname is...
No. So of course, I get home and I'm like, "Hey, what bird did you see today?"
What did you see on your walk today? You saw what?
Whoa.
Get the neighborhood watch involved in this one.
I need to go talk to. So anyway, enjoy that little moment today.
Today's episode, we'll get into our biggest storylines in the Western Conference. We're going to talk about some of the things, who can match up with OKC. We've got storylines for every single team in the West. The race to the 6th seed is specifically a really big one. And Kevin Durant's getting traded in the offseason. So we'll discuss that a little bit later. But let's start here, Isaac. After the Mavericks lost to the Lakers the other day, Klay Thompson was asked about his relationship with Luka and how just about a couple of weeks before the trade happened, he mentioned the story about how the first thing he told Luka when he joined the Mavericks was, "You got Kobe to come out of bed and to come out of the house and to actually go to an NBA game, sit courtside because he was going to come out to watch greatness." And Kobe wanted to see Luka play. And he was asked about it after the game. And I want to play what Klay Thompson said because he says something at the end here that I think is very fascinating.
Yeah, that's life, and I stand by what I said. I mean, that is true. You get Kobe out the house to watch you play, and you got something special. So Luka is a obviously special talent. You don't make the All-NBA first team 5 times without being that gifted. And but you got to put it you got to put it in the past because there's no point in going back because then you just can't appreciate what's ahead. And we got to just hold down the fort until we get healthy. But I really believe in this team, especially when we're whole. I know what a championship team looks like and feels like, and I know we have what it takes to do that. We just got to get whole and hold down the fort until we're healthy.
I know what a championship team looks like and feels like, and I know we have what it takes. Do you believe him?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we've said this all along. Like they're going to be really good when they're healthy, and you saw a glimpse of that in that first half, in which everybody was healthy. PJ was healthy. AD was healthy. Obviously Lively wasn't healthy in that game, but it's like we haven't seen a full game in which everybody out there was fully healthy. But yeah, I think that it's not just they had the talent either. The chemistry on the team is awesome. That these guys love playing with each other. Yeah. You see it. You see the fight they have in them. They're not giving up. We've been covering this league for 10 years now. So we've seen when teams give up. We've seen when Mavs teams give up and they don't have it and they're not motivated and they're not syncing up and everything. You're like, man, did they quit tonight? We've had those conversations before. This team hasn't quit. Like this team plays for each other. They bust their butt off. and bust their butt. Yeah, I guess that works.
They busted off.
Man, I'm just firing off the clips for people today.
Both ends too.
God bless. All right.
So you believe him, right? So we go back
I believe him. I believe him. I believe that he believes that too. I don't think he's just blowing smoke at that. I think there's a lot of truth to that.
He's been on many championship teams, and so there's a lot of weight into what Klay Thompson says. I really believe in this team, especially when we are whole. I know what a championship team looks like and feels like, and I know we have what it takes. We just have to get, to get whole and hold down the fort until we get healthy. I agree with him on that. One of the things about this quote is that we have not seen this team whole yet, because we haven't even seen it with Lively yet. I mean, you've seen AD for 30 minutes, if that, and part of it he was even lingering and hurting then too. And you haven't seen what this team can fully look like yet. And I think that we've seen this team the last month, basically, since the trade. And they haven't even had the strength of their team yet. Right. Yeah. So anything that you've taken in this last month, I don't think that you can't evaluate it and say, all right, I know exactly what this team will be. I don't think we know yet. And so when Klay says he knows what a championship team looks like and feels like, and this team kind of has it, then I have to believe him in some way. I'm skeptical because, and we said this the day of the trade, you and I and Slightly, we did a 3-man weave, and we were talking about what this team has and all that. I think they still need one more offensive force, like one more offensive player. Like, I don't know, maybe AD brings that, and maybe he's enough to add that. Maybe it's enough to have really great rebounding and rim protection. And I think it would have made the difference in the Lakers game the other day. I think it would have made a difference in a lot of the games the Mavs have played. But in a playoff setting, I'm still skeptical in a Kyrie AD, especially not having much time under their belt, right? What the ESPN story from McMahon came out today that was like the Mavs are hopeful they'll get a couple of games of AD and Lively before they go into the playoffs. Like, I don't know if that's enough to see the chemistry that they could have or to build any kind of chemistry offensively in order to get through a playoff run. Because what you had before is Luka can figure out anything on offense. And so that wasn't the question. This team is going to be built on defense for sure. But then when you need to score buckets, you've got Kyrie, but I feel like you need one more on top of what AD can bring too.
Yeah, well, I don't want to act like, hey, I think AD can bring some offense. I mean, the dude can torch whenever it just looks different. He's not doing the step back threes like Luka and stuff. But I mean, even the first half, 2 games before Dallas traded for him, he put up 42 and 20 something, rebounds. Like, the dude can get buckets. It's that we were having these issues about offense even when they had Luka. It was like, hey, where's the third offensive guy going to come from? And when it was Luka and Kyrie, so we still have the same question now. I don't go down a lot as far as that. I don't question that offensive role more because AD has replaced Luka in that, because I think they're both can get their 30 points on a given night. It's just like, where's that other? Or, it feels like they're just going to bank on it's got to be just one of these guys on any given night. A Klay Thompson, a PJ Washington, Caleb Martin. It's which I think Caleb Martin's a little bit more versatile on offense than Grimes was. So I think that's a slight upgrade on offense. But sorry, I know that's your guy.
That's my guy.
Sorry, you thought he should play more. So it's still a question mark. Dinwiddie would say himself. But
every 5th game, he's right.
But I do think this is one of the biggest question marks about the Western Conference heading into this final, these final 20 games of the season, basically, or this final month. Because if the Mavs are healthy, if they go into the playoffs, you're like, all right, AD's fully cleared, Lively's cleared, then they are really, really dangerous. And I don't, I think they're right up there in some of these conversations with any of those teams after OKC, and it just happens to be because of injuries that they're going to be so far low, potentially in the play-in tournament, and having to claw themselves out of that to even make the playoffs, because the play-in tournament is not the playoffs.
Hate that. Hate the play-in.
Just hand those participation.
Hey, if the Mavs are 9th this year and they sneak into the playoffs and they actually make it, you're going to have to eat all your words about the play-in tournament.
Oh, no. I still feel the same way about it.
You think the Mavs should just miss the playoffs instead?
I've always been in that camp. Yes.
Okay. I think that I'm skeptical that they can go all the way. Like, this is a championship team. He's putting, like, Klay put the aspirations at the highest level. I do give him a chance because if they are healthy, then that defense is going to be really good and incredible. The strength of their team is going to add a lot. And so they might not have to have as much offense. They might just have to just have enough offense to get through. And I'm just like, I'm with you. I'm like, all right, where is that going to come from besides a Kyrie and an AD giving you 50? Where's the rest of the 100 or the rest of the 56 come from or whatever?
It feels like you question that more based off roster construction than you do health. And I think that's where I would flip flop it for me. I would question that ceiling being winning the finals because of health more than I do roster construction. I actually do think that if they're fully healthy, they would have a shot at winning the title.
Wow.
Fully healthy.
It's got to be everybody.
Even if AD comes back and he's, plays 4 games before the end of the regular season, I don't think he's going to be fully healthy. Like, he's going to be a higher percentage or else he's not out there, but I don't think he's still going to be fully healthy then. Same for, Dereck Lively too, and conditioning and all the stuff. So I don't think there's a world in which they're fully healthy, in the first, playing game or even like the first round or something. So
you can never be proven wrong with this take then.
No, I do think
because they won't get that healthy this year.
I think there could be a world in which, like, over time, like if they, could get to the second round or something, and then they're like feeling better. They've got games under the belt. They're a little bit more in shape and all that stuff. So I think they could be.
We'll see. I thought that was a great quote. I know what a championship team looks like and feels like, and I know what it takes to do that. Klay Thompson has said that. And we didn't really even talk about Klay Thompson being that third offense, and maybe he can be.
Him, yeah.
Maybe he can be. I don't think I gave him enough credit that maybe he could be that guy. And he was the other day against the Lakers, and they needed a second guy. They needed a second guy or anybody else besides him and Kyrie. Coming up, the rest of the West. What stands out? I think the Lakers is a story that people are going to be watching. I know.
Whoa, no way.
We've talked about them a lot, but there's something specifically about Luka and the Lakers I think people will be watching, and then more on that on the rest of the West coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get into it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Go check it out. They already have the April 9th odds for, actually they don't. They took them off. They have a whole bunch of other stuff. They have a LeBron James one. I know he's your favorite player of all time, Isaac. So LeBron James to score 10 points in a game all season. Yes, 10 points in a game. In all games this season. You know how he's never not scored 10 points in a game?
Oh, yeah.
So, yes is minus 3,500.
Wow.
That's wild to me. So, you can go check that out. Check out games. Check out all kinds of other stuff that they have at FanDuel. And right now, you can take advantage of their deal. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com at your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We'll have a post-game show tomorrow, so check back and we'll have that one for you. We'll have a show every single day. All right, Isaac, we're talking about the biggest storylines of the West. And the next biggest storyline, is the Lakers, and probably the first one. It's probably the biggest storyline the rest of the season. Is just, what does Luka and LeBron look like? And I think there's a quote that came out in The Athletic today that was frustrating for a lot of Mavericks fans about Luka Doncic and about why the Mavericks decided to move on from him, why Nico and Dumont and Kidd and all them decided to move on from him. Here's a quote from The Athletic, all right? Strap in. Make no mistake, the people who witnessed Doncic's last days in Dallas do not paint a flattering portrait of the 25-year-old's professionalism. They call him lazy. They talk about his weight issues, such a frequent frustration within their walls. They mention the social habits, such as a taste for beer and hookah, which have been a point of concern for NBA types since he was a 19-year-old star for Real Madrid, who was entering the draft. They predict his basketball demise, highlighting a health history that, as some see it, will likely lead to catastrophe in the next 5 years or so. And there's also been, Tim McMahon has reported that this has awakened a beast in Luka. And I wonder how much of that we could see the rest of this season. And I think that's a storyline to watch. It's just how Luka responds to stuff like this coming out about him and then he's now faced with this new opportunity.
Yeah, there's so many different angles to take to this one. Okay, let me say this first. One, a lot of this stuff right now about Luka isn't new. All right.
No.
So
this wasn't new.
This has been stuff that's been like, it feels like there's a new story that comes out every other day in which a new reporter asks somebody representing the Mavericks why they traded Luka, and we're getting some version of the answer regurgitated in some different way every 2 days. So it's like, hey guys, we all get it. And it, like, if you are a new reporter and you come, swooping in from like a different, media outlet, and it's like, why not go ahead and get another quote on it, because it's going to get the headlines again anytime it's like, hey, shocking here, the Mavericks didn't think he took his conditioning seriously, and all this stuff. It's like, guys, we've heard this over and over and over again, and we've heard this even before the trade. So like, that's the one part of some of this that we're like, I mean, we have bashed the Mavericks more than we ever have after this trade, because it was ridiculous. Like, the trade should have never happened. The process, all the stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing I haven't understood is like the kind of like, hey, the news stories, or the, you see this sometimes of like, oh, the emptying of the notebook after a big thing happens. And it's like, then all these stories come out, and it's like Mavericks are putting all this stuff out there. It's like, guys, this stuff was written about way before. We were saying on this podcast how many different times of like, I mean, I feel like I've said it like a broken record, for Luka to be in the all-time top echelon of all-time greats, he has to make the decision to awaken that beast. Like, he has to he's going to be an all-time great. He's going to be a Hall of Famer if he quit right now. But still, like, to be in that one of the best of all time, like top 10 conversation, he has to make that decision of when he's going to take the conditioning and, take that next step. We've said emotional maturity too at the same time. So this stuff was conversations and reports and written about and all the stuff before the trade. If this is what, I mean, if anything, if there's ever been a time that does awaken that beast, to see Luka truly do come into, from this point on in this season or this off season, and we see a Luka come into training camp and it's a different man on a mission, then look out. I mean, it's already been look out world for, the rest of the league, because Luka's torched everybody, but that's what will take him to being a multiple time champion, multiple time MVP, and all the different stuff. And if it happens right now for the rest of the season, heck yeah, they're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and you got to watch them, and that's definitely a storyline to watch, to see what they're going to do, to see how good they are. They're starting from a good spot. They're fourth in the West right now, right?
Like, me and you both have, I mean, we've joked about it. Me and you both have, and I'm not going to say in like, just start spewing out. Me and you both have stories that we've heard about Luka for years.
Yeah.
That falls right in line with this narrative. Stories that are from very like,
reputable
people would know. That have seen some of these things take place. It all goes back to, that we could say say story after story on this podcast, and it's like, all right, this and this and this and this happened, and this, and all this stuff, but it's still not enough to trade.
It didn't matter. He still rolls out of bed and drops a 30-point triple-double.
That's my whole thing about it. It's like,
it was honestly what was impressive about him. It's like, he didn't take his conditioning seriously. He had all these bad habits, and he still was a 5-time first-team All-NBA player, right?
Yes.
Like, that
led the league in scoring, went to an NBA Finals. Like,
yes.
I mean, like, you could just go all day. It just wasn't enough to trade him. So that's my whole thing with it. And yeah, the Lakers, my question as far as regarding the storyline for the West is, do the Lakers have enough? I think that's probably the number one storyline for the whole Western Conference, is, do the Lakers have enough? When they got Mark Williams in that, fake trade for 48 hours, it was like, holy crap, they're winning the title. They got Mark Williams. And then they didn't. And now people are still saying the same thing. And it's like, do they have enough? Do they have enough size down low? Can they play the defense? Their offense will be able to score with anybody. Can they play the defense for, multiple series to make it to an NBA Finals? I don't know about all that. I think it's a little too quick for them this year. But
yeah,
I mean, the West is also kind of wide open too.
Yeah, the Lakers
outside of OKC.
the Lakers were not as put together as the Mavericks roster wise before this trade.
Yeah,
and then they had to give up 2 pieces. They got Luka obviously back, but they run into the Nuggets or the Rockets with Şengün, or even like the Timberwolves if somehow they play them in some kind of what I guess it would be like a 3-6, or maybe even like a 4-5 if they get up there. Like, who's guarding Julius Randle? He hasn't even been great this season, but it's just they just have problems down low with big guys.
Nick, have you seen LeBron's defense over the past month though?
He has actually played defense very, very well, but is LeBron gonna guard?
First team all defense.
He's been great for like a couple weeks. He's been re-energized, rehydrated, so he can get up for the game. Like
AJ Rex said it.
He said it
in all defense.
But I'm curious if they run into any other. I guess even Jaren Jackson Jr. for the Grizzlies.
Well, I'll throw this as like a secondary storyline for the rest of the season too. And this is in relation to the Lakers. How hard do certain teams angle for Houston for that first playoff series? Right now, the Lakers and Houston would face off in a first round series. Dream matchup for LA, right? Like, even though they have all the defenders, they don't really have, a Şengün, down low, but it's not a Jokic. It's as far as like what's realistic, for them.
Yeah.
You're probably angling for a younger, inexperienced Rockets team. If you're the Lakers. And are there other teams, do we see a Memphis, Memphis, Denver, what happens through there? How bad does the angling get at the very end of the season for somebody that really tries to seek out that Houston matchup?
Coming up, the race for the 6th seed is actually a really interesting race. Who is going to get it? Can the Mavs get it? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, the privileges of a high net worth are available for any net worth. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. With privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. You can get them as well. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%, plus you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of a high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times national savings average. Interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, we're going around the Western Conference talking about the biggest storylines. We've gone through 2 teams.
Yeah,
the classic Locked On
we
Mavs,
do, baby.
Classic Locked On Mavs fashion. We're like, hey, we're gonna go through.
We can throw some of these out pretty fast, though.
But the 6th seed, I think, is one that you're definitely watching, because you got the Clippers there right now. They're 32-26, and the Timberwolves are half game behind them. Warriors are game behind them. The Mavs are only a game and a half behind the Clippers right now for 6th. Even the Kings are 2.5 games. That is not a ridiculous amount of games. There's 20 to 25 games left for each team. Who you've got going for 6, and what are you watching with the 6th seed?
It's just that 6th seed is so coveted, right? Even though you might have the danger of matching up with a Denver, you just avoid the whole play-in mess. Yeah. It's just like, the play-in is just it is a mess, because it takes one little twisted ankle, and it's like, all right, you lose once and you're like out if you're the 9th or 10th seed, or so it's just like that's the type of thing that everybody's gonna be shooting for that 6th seed. And there's 5 teams that's basically shooting for it. I don't think Phoenix is gonna recuperate this season.
I didn't even mention them. They're 5 games back from the 6th seed right now, and they look like a mess. You mentioned teams that have quit earlier. Like, we've seen teams that have quit a couple years ago. The Mavs team quit and they missed the postseason entirely. That's what the Suns team looks like. We'll talk about the KD trade thing here in a minute, but yeah, they look like they're a mess.
Yeah, the Clippers, won last night. They had lost 3 in a row before that. But who can land at that 6th spot? Can the Warriors keep, and this is one of my storylines too, is how good are the Warriors with Jimmy Butler?
Yeah.
They're 6-1 since getting, Jimmy. They look awesome.
They've lost. They've lost a game.
They've lost 1 game.
Who Who was that they lost to?
Wow, who is that team? I don't know. I can't remember.
Welcome to Dallas.
The City and Turmoil team.
I didn't play the rest of it. I just
Can the Warriors climb up to that spot, being a game back? Can Dallas, get some of these guys back with a couple weeks to go in the season and, win out, for the last couple of weeks?
Don't get me excited. March 6th is a week from Thursday. So
that's pretty crazy. So yeah, it's just, I think that 6th spot is going to be, a highly coveted spot for people to be going at.
that's definitely a big one. To me, I think it's the Warriors to lose right now. I just think that they have they have the new juice. They have the, you've got Steph Curry, a Draymond, and a Jimmy Butler that are all rejuvenated. They obviously have the experience. The Clippers team, it's been kind of a mess. It's been great for them so far. They played a lot better than I thought. I thought they'd be out of the playoff picture completely this year, but they've played really well. It just doesn't look like it's going that well for them lately. Timberwolves have been dealing with some injuries. And so, yeah, I think the Mavs are obviously dealing with their injuries, and the Kings have traded away guys. So I think it's the Warriors to lose right now.
How much fun if the Warriors crept up to 6 and Denver passed Memphis? How much fun would a Golden State Memphis 3-6 series be?
Oh, that's so fun.
Jimmy, who didn't want to go to Memphis at all.
Yeah, didn't want to go. Those Grizzlies would be talking about that and would say something about that.
And then, the history of like Draymond with the Grizzlies. And don't forget about those Grizzlies.
Ja
commercial we see all the time.
Ja hit a game winner the other day against the Suns. I was listening to Locked On Grizzlies, and DeMichael Cole had this crazy stat about how Ja Morant's one of the best at like clutch shots. So imagine he hits a clutch shot in a game, and he looks over like he's on the mic, and he goes, "We didn't want you anyway." Like imagine he just.
Oh. Yeah, and just the personalities of Jimmy and Draymond in a playoff series with some of those Grizzlies, that'd be awesome.
That would be great. And yeah, it's the young guys versus the old guard. I think the last storyline I'm looking at, and it kind of has to do with the Mavs in a way, is Kevin Durant is going to get traded. I think that is a huge one. You heard from Brian Windhorst. They're like, hey, they wanted to trade him at the deadline. They couldn't come up with something, and now they're both sides, the Suns and Durant, are like, all right, we're going to make this happen in the offseason. And so that's sort of a ticking time bomb. That's a really good player that wants to be on the move, Nike athlete, all that kind of stuff for the Mavericks. We've talked about it a couple times here, but that's a storyline for the rest of the season, I think.
Yeah, I put the Suns' demise as just like, it's just pretty wild that, we're just seeing this. They made the Bud change and all the stuff, and it's just not working. And you see it in all the players. And now, them trading KD, I think Dallas has a legit shot. There's a reason why we have talked about KD realistically on this team and what the trade package would look like and the fit and all this stuff so much, because we both think there's a realistic shot that they go out and get KD this offseason, which would be absolutely insane. But it's not going to be just Dallas either. There's going to be Minnesota's going to make another run at him to pair him with Ant, and Ant's idle. I've been watching some of that new documentary on Netflix, the USA one, and just Ant just sitting there just talking, glazing KD openly.
That's this guy.
So there's gonna be other teams that go after him again, and heck, the Lakers probably will too. But I think Dallas can make a move. There's Texas connections, different stuff.
Do you know how many playoff series the Suns have won in this KD era?
How many? One. Wow.
I think they've actually only won one playoff, or they've only won 4 playoff games, because I think they got swept last year, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we still good.
They won 1 playoff series against the Clippers.
Is Eddie Johnson doing all right now? Or?
I don't. Well, he's still trying to figure out what kind of plays the teams actually run.
Yeah.
No
one does off-ball stuff right now.
They won 1 playoff series against a Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, Marcus Morris, Zubats, Eric Gordon Clippers team.
Throw up the banner.
Paul George and Kawhi were not healthy.
Put up the banner right now.
That's a bigger disaster than the Nets, right? With KD, Harden, and Kyrie.
I don't know.
They won 1 playoff series.
At
least the Nets became relevant.
Did the Nets do anything? Like Kevin Durant's toe It was too long.
At least the Nets got out of it. I don't know how the Suns are getting out of it.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, they'll get some stuff for KD and stuff, but I think everybody's all eyes is on Booker at that point because you can't do anything with Bradley Beal. And
I'm looking at Houston for Booker because Houston owns a couple of the Suns' picks.
Yeah,
you just flop them back, and you get a go-to scorer for the Rockets. Get your own
Houston,
picks back. Go back into the. I don't know if HBO wants to do that. Their owner, but
no, they gotta go swinging this offseason. I think one of my last ones beside the Sun is
sorry. They go swinging. They get rid of Durant and Booker, and Beal is on the Wizards West.
Yeah,
that's wild. That'd be wild. Feel bad for him.
It's like
waived his no trade clause to just be on Wizards West in a year and a half.
I think Phoenix is probably a little better to live in than DC, but
I don't know. Have you seen the cherry blossoms? I don't know. It's kind
of cherry blossoms. That movie was so bad.
Oh, Brave New World.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I didn't think it was horrible. I didn't think it was great, but
that was horrible. We watched this sucker together. It was so bad. Don't even. All right.
I think it was so bad.
Yeah. Is Denver for real? I think that's my last like serious question about the West. They're 9-1 of their last 10. You can try to pick apart that 10 games of like who they beat and these certain scenarios and stuff.
Have you looked through the teams?
Yeah, I have, but still, it's
bad.
Like I just are they for real? Like, is Murray?
Yeah,
it feels like he's been playing a little better. If they're healthy, are they a legit? Do they have enough? Westbrook, I don't know. He should be coming back soon, right?
I think he's been playing.
Yeah, that's just my thing of like how do we view Denver?
Yeah, he played.
Yeah, how do we view Denver going into the playoffs?
Man, I don't know. They are 13-14 against teams above 500. So it's like, and the Grizzlies are 13-17 against teams above 500. It's like they're just beating the teams they're supposed to. They're really taking care of business well, but they're not beating teams above 500, which is not a good sign. But they have Jokic. You're going to have the best player in the series in every single series you play. We know that gives you a possibility.
And do the Lakers catch one of these teams like Memphis or Denver? And then going back to England for Houston, do the Lakers want to catch them?
Yeah, right. Match up with the Mavs or the Warriors or the.
Some people are throwing out the whole like, dude, Lakers could get the 2 seed, and they're like, they could go for it, but you just can't tell me if we're getting down to the final weeks of the season, and there's a 2-game difference between the Lakers being at 4 going against Houston versus the 3 or 2 seed.
But 4 puts you against OKC in round 2.
I mean, you got to play them at some point. I mean, if you can sit there and say, hey, we made a midseason trade and made it to the second round, that's a pretty good building block going into the offseason.
Historically, it's nice to meet OKC in round 2. I don't know if you know that from experience.
Well, I mean, if you're looking forward to beating them in the conference finals, they might not be there.
That's right. I guess we can still brag about that. It happened.
No, I mean, I'm not confident in anything now against OKC because we don't have Luka.
I know it's complete. It's everything's out the window. Let us know in the comment section on YouTube and anywhere else, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, if you believe Klay Thompson about a championship team. And if you believe that, go check out our newsletter, LockedOnDaily.com. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.
Bring Centel back.
RIP.